I'm starting the show. All right. All right, go figure, guys. Cold opening again. For some reason, the Stream Deck decided today was my day to die. So, it's just another fun day here at the ranch. Anyway, all right, guys. And we're just going to switch to camera one and call it a day right now. So, anyway, hopefully, can you guys give me a quick heads up in the chat? Can you guys hear me okay? Because I've turned my own volume down. Okay, I'm getting one guy saying okay. If the rest of y'all can hear me, that is good, and because I can't hear myself, and that's disconcerting. All right, guys. Anyway, hey, welcome to the best British show on the entire internet. This is the ComicBase live stream, and the theme today is okay. I'm getting a couple. Sound is good. Thank God for that. And I'm going to actually pan one thing down here because I managed to mess with the camera angle just a bit beforehand, so we'll go with that one. I'm Pete Bickford. I make comic software. And for the next hour or so, we'll be talking about tips, tricks, and particularly magic themed things, which you can do with ComicBase or your computer or in whatnot. And one thing I definitely wanted to show everyone ahead of time was some latest stuff we've been doing with AI. Well, we haven't been doing it, but the world's been doing with AI, and not that horrific Gemini stuff that's going on. But one of the things that I wanted to show, unfortunately, is only available if you've got sound coming from your computer onto your live stream. And so that doesn't make any sense today because for some reason before the show, and thank you to our moderator, Gregor Hecht, who's in the house, we were able to prove that I somehow am unable to make my computer do anything other than beep and have it show up on the stream. So we're going to work on that one next time, and we'll show that out there. Anyway, so before we get too involved on the whole thing, a quick go around, everyone. Welcome, Oro Vio's first in the house here from Minneapolis. It looks like we survived the worst of the winter, hopefully. Mike Beam, Rob Weinberg out here, our mod out here, of course, from South Jersey. Mr. Gregory Hecht, Ed Billiot, and we've got another Ed. Jeff Wilkie is here, and so let's go for it. The stuff I want to show you, I'm going to just give you a quick. Let's see if is it worth showing without the voice. You know what? I think I'm going to hold off on the AI stuff entirely until next week because it's too good to show without the audio, because that, of course, is the it's one of the missing links we've had in here. So we've now got AI that can, like a psychopath, give you completely delusional but very, very confident answers to almost every question that the human mind can publish. We've got AI now, which until Google pulled it, out of a fit of embarrassment last week, you could ask for any historical fact or image, whatever else, and it would give you a diverse version of from an alternate reality that represents what Google wished had happened instead. But do it all in seconds. The show thumb for this episode was actually generated with Midjourney, which is another AI generator. I think we'd asked it for a magic hat with light pouring out of it. We got a magician with doing a magic trick. It's still pretty cool, throw that up there, so don't know. I mean, it used to be AI had trouble with hands. Apparently now it has trouble with hats and white people. But go figure. It's state of the art. It's always changing. But fabulous stuff going on. And the one thing that is definitely different about things now is there had been a prediction as early as January of this year that, hey, look, it's cool that AI can do these images. It's cool that it can fake people's voices. We're going to have telephone fraud like you've never seen before with your I don't know, Donald Sutherland will be calling you from Amsterdam saying, I really need you to send me, $200 because I've lost my wallet and I'll pay you back, Monday. You name it, it's going to be happening. We're already, we talked about on the ComicBase After Dark stream last time. asking questions and having delusional AI point you to delusional song lyrics that it made up on the spot instead of the actual answers you've gotten. It's going to be a wacky, wacky world out there. But one thing that had always been a prediction is that, look, it's cool that it can do all this amazing stuff, but it sure won't be able to make a movie. I mean, a whole movie, come on, it can be a break, yeah, that prediction was good for about 4 weeks. I mean, I'm not saying it's making a good movie, but then, is Hollywood? So anyway, I was going to show some things there, but I think we're going to save those for next one. Just consider this entire thing a long, long teaser. All right, so on to other things. Let's talk about ComicBase type stuff. Let me put away all my AI-ish type stuff and get out ComicBase, and then I will, actually show that instead. So, all right. And presumably you guys all heard the blurch out there. Actually, if you did, give me a quick heads up or down on that one, because for some reason it seems like the beep sounds and things like that are being heard on the live stream, but not the actual audio output. At least that's what the folks were saying in the sound check beforehand. If you heard that last blurch, off my computer, just thumb up, thumb down. Just if you didn't, just you can mess with my head until you did anyway. All right. Yeah, okay, yes to blurch. All right. Yeah, guys, that's a weird one. We'll have to figure this one out. Okay, so all right, so let's talk about some tricks you can do with ComicBase. And I'm going to tell you about a trick that is going to work right now, but which will not work soon. It's all by way of saying it's kind of a weird bug report on myself, but we're in the midst of fixing it. And so if you have an urge to do this sort of thing, be aware that your time frame for doing this trick is limited. So, all right, let's pull out some pictures here. Let me get myself some pictures. All right, so here's a picture in one eye of Shield 4th series. All right, and the thing you want to see, oh no, I don't want to use that one. That's too big. Let's go with let's have a look at number 11. Nope, too big as well. Dang it. Am I going to the right place, or have I reset? Oh, I have. Sorry, my bad. Let me put these ones back. So I'm pulling these things right now from our master picture store. I don't want to do that. I want to pull them from just the local thing on my computer. So if you guys ever want to know how do I move where my pictures are stored on my computer, you go to the file menu, go to file tools, and then go down to manage pictures and movies. And you will see a thing pop up here which says, where do you want what's your location you want to use for the pictures and movies? And this is the folder that contains those. And I'm going to go ahead and hit reset so that it switches back to the regular one, as opposed to going to the ComicBase Central's picture store that we use all in-house here for all our master pictures. All right, so now when I go back to Shield 4th series, I go forward and back here. All right, now we get a little bit different results. All right, and now let's look at the pictures that we've got here. So here's version 1M. All right. And if I hover over this, you'll see that this thing is tiny. It's 83 pixels by 128 pixels, right? So the cool part is, let's go down the grid here so we can play around with these. I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger so we can see some more. All right, so all right. There's that one, and so forth. All right. Now, as I was going through these ones over here, you'll notice that as soon as I clicked on 1M, it showed me the full-size picture, and it sure as heck was not. What was the dimension on that one? 83 pixels by 128 pixels. Same thing goes here. Like if I click on the eye picture over here and I click on it over there, that picture is clearly not, 128 pixels tall either. The reason is because there's a feature in ComicBase these days. You go under Setup, you go to Preferences, and it says, if you've got the archive edition, do you want to, let me see where we put it here. Nope, sorry. Guys, sorry, we relayed this out recently, and it's driving me crazy. Okay, here we are, down in the bottom right-hand corner here. Automatically download larger pictures when viewing items. Which is to say, when you first install ComicBase, if you did it the standard way, it probably installed thumbnails for all million and change pictures that are in the program, which awesome. It didn't take 100 years to install it, and they didn't take just infinity space on your hard disk, which, I think the total install when you've got it in there is something like 8 GB worth of pictures, of picture thumbnails. And the cool part while you're at it is you also can instantly see, you go to a title. Now we're looking at just thumbnails. I can see all the covers, right? I can see the differences between them all and everything. And the second I click on any one of them to see it larger, in that short period of time, it has actually downloaded and replaced the thumbnail with a full-size picture. So anything I'm actually interested in, it suddenly becomes full size by magic. Well, the magic is that there's a couple hidden fields over here in ComicBase. In the you can you'd see them in the grid if you turn them on, but there's a couple hidden fields in your database that say, well, all right, last time I saw a picture for number 2, how big was it? And it'll say, well, last time I saw this one, it was 83 by 128 pixels tall, not very big. All right, well now, as soon as I click on it, it says, oh, this guy's interested in that one. And it talks to our servers and it says, have we got a bigger picture? And if so, it pulls down the bigger picture and shows you the bigger picture instead of the thumbnail, which is now gone. And the whole thing works really pretty slick. So here's an example of that one, etc. And so, basically as fast as you can ever get interested in stuff, you can see the full version as if it was there all along. All right, that's the theory. Let's talk about where it goes crazy. And there's a couple of reasons it might go crazy on you. First of all, let's talk about what I mean by go crazy. So let's say I want to take a new picture over here for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. number 1M. Right? So here's the full-size picture, and here's my picture. All right. Now, my picture, let's say, is only, I don't know, it's let's say that I've got, I should set this trick up a little bit better. If you've got ComicBase Archive Edition, then the maximum the pictures will ever be is 1050 pixels tall. Why 1050 pixels? Because at 96 DPI, that winds up being as big as a regular comic book in real size. So if you're holding right up to your monitor, you'd be seeing it as if it was like right on your screen. And that seemed like a darn good size to use for, pictures that we were going to put on the Archive Edition. Then, technology changed and 4K became a thing. And we also started having the ability to have like Blu-ray discs, which at least for a while were great. We could put everything on the Blu-ray discs and we wouldn't have to compress them terribly. And it would all be a great way of showing all this stuff. That actually changed because we got so very, very many pictures in the program that honestly, if you don't need to install it from disk, don't these days. Installing it from the download is really the way to go if you want to have the best quality and the best version of everything, because we can't fit the best stuff onto a discs anymore. We have to squish them until they fit the physical discs, and then something has to give. So anyway, what we've done then is when 4K, we used to call it the Blu-ray Archive Edition. It's now called the 4K Archive Edition. When that came along, we said, okay, well, look, if someone bought a 4K monitor, we want to give you at full, it's called UHD definition. So 1920 high by 3840 wide. That's our maximum maximum sizes that will deliver a picture to you if you're using the 4K. All right, so then this funny thing came up. Guys got the Archive Edition, not the 4K, but the regular Archive Edition. And he says, well, okay, I've got a new cover for, a comic. Let's say it's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. number 1M. And I'm going to take my cover. Let's see if I can launch Photoshop on here and have this come up, and I'll create a dummy picture of this one. And if I can't do it very quickly, I'll just describe the trick, and you'll have to trust me. Yeah, no, actually, I hate to say this, guys. It's going to be too time consuming to edit the picture in real time. But what he had done is he had 1,000 pixel tall version of a given comic. Remember, he's running the archive. This is key to the trick. Then he went out to the internet where he scanned himself, and he got a bigger picture. It's like a 1,500 pixel tall picture of the whole thing, and he dragged it onto the title. Now, if you drag it onto the title, it's going to do two things. It's going to replace the picture that's there with the picture there, and it would say, hey, do you want to replace this this one picture in his case with a much bigger picture? And you say, yeah, absolutely, go ahead and replace it. And then and here you can see the reverse of the trick right now. You go and you look at the picture, and then what do you know? That 20 pixel character I just moved in there is now a bigger picture. In his case, though, it was a smaller picture. Even though he just dragged a bigger one on there, it had replaced it with a smaller one. And the reason is for the same, is because remember, anytime you interact with a picture, it goes out and says, have we got a bigger one on our servers? And if so, it downloads the bigger picture. So what had happened to this poor guy is he had replaced his maximally large archive picture, 1050 pixels tall, with like a 1500 pixel tall picture. Now, and maybe you don't care. It's hard to see the difference, honestly. But he also had auto downloading of pictures turned on. So he dragged his copy on there, and it then figured out, oh, wait, I've got a bigger picture. But then it also figured out, oh, but even though I've got a bigger picture to give him, because our picture on our master server is like 3000 pixels tall, the version I'm going to give him is limited to what version of ComicBase he's running, which was an archive edition. So I'm going to take my large 3000 pixel picture, which is much bigger than that one he was installing, and then I'm going to squish it down to the maximum size the archive people get, 1050 pixels on, and it then overwrote his picture. This is a crummy magic trick, and we're making this trick stop. So if you want to get in on this trick today, do it now, because it's going to get fixed probably in the next 24 hours. But it does give me excuse to talk about the minutia of how we handle the auto downloading. So if you find yourself, there's basically three things in play if you're have the auto downloading turned on. First of all, auto downloading in general is great. I would encourage you, if you've got the archive edition, to do that, because again, we can serve you up pictures straight from our master picture store. So like the nicest copy we've ever seen of that picture, and we can give it down the pipe to you at really a very good quality. It's a much larger picture than we would have if we had to squish down to any kind of disc. And so it's definitely going to give you the best version of that picture that we can give you. And it'll do it all in less than a second. I mean, it's as fast as you can think about on the whole thing. So it's definitely the way to go, unless you add a lot of your own pictures. If you add a lot of your own pictures, you're limited by a couple of things. First of all, your pictures, in order for them to stick, have to be bigger than our picture, because otherwise, if you've got auto download on there and you put in a smaller picture, just like I did just now, I took the thumbnail and I dragged down to the whole thing, the thumbnail got instantly replaced by the larger version of the picture. So if you're putting your own pictures in there, make sure they're bigger. And then, at least for the next 24 hours, so make sure that if you're running the archive, not the 4K archive, the 4K archive doesn't have the same limit, but if you're running just regular archive, make sure your picture is not bigger than 1050 tall, because otherwise you can get in this weird situation where we've got the bigger picture, but then we say, oh, so fine, we'll give you the bigger picture, but then we have to shrink it down to your maximum size, and that winds up actually being a smaller picture. So it's not great. We're going to fix it. And we're going to fix it soon. But if that happened to you, that's why. Last thing I want to say about pictures and automatic downloading of these things is, if for whatever reason you find out that it's just not downloading new pictures, it seems like, hey, I've got pictures in there, but it doesn't want to. It doesn't want to give me the new versions, even though I can see on Atomic Avenue there is a bigger, better version of that picture available. If that happens to you, what's typically happening is that the hidden picture field in your database has a larger value stored than the real picture on your machine. This can happen a couple different ways. We've largely plugged these gaps up by now, but it could still happen. Easiest way for it to happen is if you had your pictures stored in one place, and you had, especially if you're not using the latest version of ComicBase, and then you move your pictures to be stored someplace else, it'll have outdated information in those hidden columns. You'll notice that one thing I did when you go File and then File Tools and say Manage Pictures and Movies, when I went and I reset where my pictures were coming from, and let me go ahead and change it back to where I want to get them from now, which is our master picture store, which is in our shared Dropbox. Shared CB data. Okay. All right. So now I'm pointing it back to our master picture store. It's the very first thing it does. It says clearing out references to stored references to pictures. Basically, it takes all that hidden information about how big the pictures are in my database and zeroes it. Because if we see that there's nothing there at all, the next time you go to a title, and again, it does it so fast you can't even see it do it. is it goes and says, "Oh, well, obviously, I better take a fresh look at the folder, look at how big every picture is, and then store new data about how big everything is." So we're pretty good about zeroing that stuff out. But especially if you've got an older version of ComicBase, or if you open up an older version of like an old database, and you haven't given it a chance to update where the pictures are and everything, it's possible your picture information is outdated, and so it won't. If it thinks it had access to older pictures that you no longer have access to, so you used to have all your pictures installed, but now you moved on to another computer where you didn't copy over the pictures. That'd be a good reason why this might happen to you. You probably want to tell it to flush out all the old data on your where the pictures are, because those pictures are no longer there. Easiest way to do that, as I said, is go under File menu, go to Manage Pictures and Movies, change where your pictures are. Just go ahead, and just change it to a folder, and then change it back, hit reset, whatever it is. But the act of changing it will zero out all your picture information, and then change it back to wherever it should be, and then you'll be good to go. But if that happens to you, that is how that goes. And then one thing, if you really are just feeling very, very fastidious, and I don't say you have to do this at all, but if you go under here under File Tools and you go to Rebuild Lists, if you click Rebuild Picture Files List, and it says slow. This will go through every, it'll first of all start by clearing all your data, but then it'll go through every entry in your database and say, have I got a picture for this? And if so, it'll find the picture, it'll update, how big the picture is in real life off of your disk, and it'll reset the entire thing so it's completely accurate. This can help on very large titles, especially have them draw a little bit faster than they would otherwise. Honestly, not that big a deal. Do it if you're feeling very fastidious and you got a couple hours to burn. Don't feel like you need to. Honestly, just changing your picture location and changing it back if you were somehow not getting pictures to download automatically is typically the way to go. All right. Enough of that stuff. Let's move on. All right. There's a picture I had dreams before the show of having enough time to make really cool titles for all this stuff. And this trick was going to be called "Let's make this database update disappear." And this one also comes from weird tech support calls that they go from the regular folks, and then they're like, Pete, can you shed some light on what's going on for this poor customer? And we had to investigate and find out. So what was happening for this poor guy is he was downloading the latest version of the update, and then he'd open up ComicBase, and none of the new stuff was there. And so when this happens, it's typically one of a couple of things. The most common thing is if you'd gone down to Sidekick and you had looked at your list of databases in Sidekick, and you hadn't. Let me go ahead and pull up Sidekick on my machine here. So when you pull up Sidekick here in the bottom right-hand corner there by your clock, on the second monitor here, so you can't see on this machine, which, by the way, hopefully by next week, I'll have my demo machine back, and this will all be much better as far as demoing. But when you go to Sidekick and you pull up the settings, it's going to list the databases that Sidekick is managing. And here's the very, very long path. C, users P, Bickford, documents, human computing, ComicBase databases, Pete's inventory database.cbd, right? That's the name of the database that I want ComicBase to manage. And as luck would have it, it is actually the same database that I'm showing you right now, which means that Sidekick is going to update this database. It can be the case you might have set Sidekick up so it's updating one database, like the default database when you first installed ComicBase might have been called ComicBase database. If you then start using, you said, well, okay, I don't want to call it ComicBase database. I want to call it Bob's Comics or My Comics to Sell or whatever else. And so you make yourself a new database. But if you forget to update Sidekick, it could be that Sidekick is updating a database that has nothing to do with the database you're working with on a daily basis. So very first thing you want to do, especially if you've ever changed and you're not using the default database, ComicBase database, is go to your Sidekick, look at the settings, and look very, very carefully and make sure it's exactly the same as the database you're using from day to day. And one way you can confirm that, so you look up at the top here where it says Pete's inventory database, that's the last part of it all. If you go to File and you go Collection Statistics, you can pull up the full stats of where your database actually lives on your computers. Give it just a second here. It's okay, so if I pull this over to the right monitor. So this is the stats And then if I click the database info button over here, it's going to pull up a dialog, of course on the wrong monitor, which has the full path of where this database lives on my machine, which is again C users pbic for BICFA, documents, human computing, ComicBase databases, pizza inventory database.cbdb. Make sure that matches exactly with what's listed in your Sidekick, because otherwise it's very likely that you're just updating the wrong database. All right, so that's typically the way this trick is performed. But if you're good, and there was a customer who called in last week who was good. They weren't just doing the regular, hey, I'm updating the wrong database trick. No, these guys had something cooler happening, and just because it can happen to you, watch out. You might have seen a message that we've got when you launch ComicBase that says, oh, hey, it looks like you're using OneDrive, Microsoft OneDrive. For the love of God, be careful. I mean, I think the message may actually say, for the love of God. No, I think it doesn't. But it says, be careful, and can I move your database to be someplace where OneDrive isn't managing it? All right, first of all, let's start with, what the heck is OneDrive? OneDrive is a program. It's part of Microsoft Office, which, as part of their Microsoft Office 365, Microsoft or your system vendors are trying like crazy to shove down your throat when you buy Windows 11. It's in most installs, certainly of the Pro version of Windows 11, it comes pre-installed, and you have to say no to about 15 dialogues in order to not have it installed on your machine. So someone over at Microsoft decided, okay, so what OneDrive is meant to do is it's their version of Dropbox. It's meant to every time it give you a magic folder on your computer, your OneDrive folder, which every time you move something into the OneDrive folder, it gets magically copied up to the Microsoft servers, which then hopefully saves you from problems. If your computer crashes, you can say, oh no, but OneDrive has a copy of my most important document. I can download it again. This sounds great, doesn't it? It has a couple of interesting aspects, on the other hand. Number one, of course, it's limited in size. So if you want to store a lot of things in your OneDrive folder, Microsoft, at a certain point, I don't know if it's 5, 10, 20 gigs. I've seen installations where it's up to 100 gigs. But there's a number at which, if you have 1 byte more than that in your folder, Microsoft will say, pay up, otherwise we're just going to stop syncing everything. And then it's up to you to figure out how to get rid of things off your OneDrive and clear out their stuff and so forth. But OneDrive has a worse aspect to it, which is to say, Microsoft, someone over there thought, well, it's not just enough for us to give you a version of Dropbox that has a magic folder which you can drive things into. There, we're Microsoft. We make Windows. Why should we ask for permission? How about on the versions, on the various installs we've got of Windows 11 Pro or certain, Dell installs and so forth? How about we just don't ask for permission and we just remap where your documents folder is on your computer? So we'll just take over your documents folder. So when you try, I'm going to store a file in my documents. Suddenly, if you look at where that was actually stored, if you expand the pathway, you'll find out that it wasn't stored in, like on mine, it was pbickford/documents. No, it suddenly would have been pbickford/OneDrive/documents. It just took over the documents folder. Everything that I put in documents gets automatically moved over to this other folder that they control. And again, they never asked. This was never something they thought of, asking permission and so forth. And it's also nearly impossible to fully disable OneDrive on a Windows 11 machine. You have to do really remarkable things in order to fully get it off your machine. And one of the things, even then, once you've done it, is if they've taken the trouble of remapping your documents folder into the OneDrive documents folder, in general, it's kind of impossible to unmap again. I know the right way to try, but it'll typically say, well, no, this is being used. I can't possibly do that right now, because everything wants access to your documents folder, and so there's always something in there that's in use. And so even if you say, hey, give me my documents folder back, it's like, nah, I can't. I'd like to, but I can't, it's busy. Which all of this is to say that if you have one of these installs of OneDrive, it not only is it going to try to copy all your stuff up to their servers, but it's very, very hard to opt out. All right, so we have this alarming message that comes up if we detect that they've remapped your documents folder into OneDrive folder, because one of the few places that outside software vendors, that'd be us, get to write files safely on your machine, because they lock down the top of your C drive, they lock down a bunch of other things, is we're supposed to write your local personal documents into your documents folder, which now is the OneDrive folder. All right, so we're, unless we go to great lengths, we're writing stuff into your OneDrive folder. Why do we care, right? What's the problem, right? Can't we just get along with Microsoft? Well, the problem is because Microsoft, this whole OneDrive thing works great if I'm talking about things like I'm going to edit a video, I'm going to edit a picture, I'm going to edit a word processing document, I'm going to make some changes to a spreadsheet. Small documents, they live in my computer's memory while I'm using them. When I hit save, they get written down to my disk, and then they get copied up to OneDrive, and it's all pretty good to go. Databases don't work that way. Almost, I can't think of a database on the modern market that does work that way, because databases, because they're meant to be able to get very, very big, they're meant to be able to get bigger than your computer's memory. And as a result, databases don't actually load themselves entirely into your computer's memory. They're always kind of half on your disk, half in your computer's memory until you're done with them. And when you hit exit, at which point they take whatever they were working with and they write it down to disk. At that point, it's safe to move things up to, make a copy of your database or do things like that. OneDrive doesn't get databases. So what'll happen is you'll launch a database, could be us, could be Access, could be ComicBase, anything like that, and you'll open it up and it'll instantly say, oh, something's changed about this file, because you updated a field that's, that just says something like the last time of opening was X, just whatever it is. So, and then OneDrive, which is working at the file system level, will say, oh, the file has been changed. Let me start copying it up to the server. You're still working with the database, right? You're going to add some comics, you're going to do some other things, and you're going to make a bunch of changes. And OneDrive, when it gets done copying it the one time, will say, oh, look, it's changed again. Let me copy it up to a server again. And it's going to keep doing this every minute of the day it can until it's done, until you're done with the database, in which case you'll exit it. It'll write down your changes to the disk. OneDrive will say, oh, hey, you changed the data again. Let me copy it to the server. And it'll copy to the server again. Your network connection in the meantime has been absolutely killed by all this. I mean, it's absolutely murder unless you have just a really big internet pipe. But then there can be one other final awesomely fun trick, which is if your system clock is just a little bit off from the Microsoft central system clock. Let's say that my system clock is, I don't know, 5 minutes behind. Well, I've changed something at 425, and then it gets copied up to the server. Microsoft, by the time it's doing copying it, it says, oh, this is my copy from 429. And now I exit. And then Microsoft says, oh, hey, you've exited this thing, and I've got a copy of your database from 429 that's more recent because it's 425 on your computer. Let me copy that back down to your computer because, hey, I'm a helpful syncing service. I keep everything in sync. So as a result, and here is the truly magical trick that can be performed if you're using OneDrive with your active database, is if I got my, if I've got my database off by, say, my clock off by, say, 5 minutes, and I download an update, I've changed everything about ComicBase, I add a ton of comics, I exit the program. Remember, it's been copying things the entire time along. And then I exit, and it says, oh, wait, I've got a copy that's later than your copy. It's really 5 minutes earlier than my copy. I'm going to copy it back down to your machine, and it will undo all of your work. Fantastic. So anyway, obviously we've seen this before. We do everything in our power to keep you away from OneDrive. It's terrible. I mean, I can't emphasize how bad this is to use with your active database while you're using it. What we try to do, I mean, if you do want to use OneDrive, the way to use it is whatever folder you're using to store your database backups. And let me point you to where that's kept in ComicBase. By default, when you use ComicBase, this is right under Preferences, it says, do you want to save a backup? Automatically backup database when you close the program, and it'll say, where do you want to save your backups to? I have no problem at all saying, go ahead and save all my backups to, instead of saying the same folder as the original database, say I'm going to save them all to my OneDrive folder, in which case they're backed up not only, on your machine, they're backed up to Microsoft servers. That's aces. Go for it. Absolutely no problem. Because the backup is only touched once. It gets written once when you exit the program, and then we make a copy, and then hopefully, unless there's disaster on your machine, you never touch it again. So it's not constantly thrashing your internet connection. I'm a big fan of having your backup someplace which isn't your computer. Because again, computers can get stolen, hard drives can get destroyed, bad things can happen to computers. So you should always have a backup of your data someplace which isn't your computer, preferably not even your house. So if you want to save your backups to your OneDrive folder, go for it. Absolutely no problem. Just don't save your active database. Don't be working out of a folder that OneDrive is also managing, or crazy things can happen. So basically, just don't do it. All right. A couple comments in here. Let's see here. Rob asked, when we would download the weekly update, are those large pictures being downloaded or thumbnails? They are the large pictures. And let me see here. It says we have to use option for other smaller, large cover downloads. Yeah. So I'm sorry. I went a little too fast with the question. So whenever I touch a picture in the database, so when I can go ahead and touch to number 3 here, it just pulled down the largest picture we've got to give you for issue number 3, and you can see it right now. Or number 2, whatever. I mean, if this is as big as it is, that means that's the biggest picture we've got. So if someone wants to send us a bigger picture of Shield from Panini number 2, hey, we'd take it, because clearly there's room to get bigger here. But so when you touch things, you always get the largest picture we've got up to the size of your of your program. So we're archive guys, we're never going to give you a picture bigger than 1050 tall or 1050 wide. It'll be proportional to the original picture. And then 4K guys, we're going to go all the way up to 4K resolution. I guess if you had, I don't know, if you're doing global imaging data and you just want to store a 50,000 pixel picture, the picture we download is not going to be as big as the one you've got. So I guess in those cases, we actually say, your picture is already big enough, and we're not even going to try to download it. So ignore me. I was about to say, worry about the automatic download, but actually the automatic download, if it sees you've got a picture that's as big as 4K resolution, we don't even look. we just move on. So you're fine. There is, however, when you download pictures with Archive Edition for the week's data. So this is when you want to go ahead and, have I got the magnifier on here? Wouldn't that be great? Oh no, this is second monitor. Don't do the magnifier thing, Bickford. Sorry, we've tried this before. It does not work with StreamYard. So squint at this one this week. If they get me a replacement for my demo computer by next week, we'll be a little slicker. So bear with me for now. But when you are downloading the week's updates, you have you have an option here as to whether or not, and let me see if I can find it. Sorry, I'm zoning right here. Oh no, I'm sorry, it's in the update option. That's why I can't find it. Let me go ahead and say check for updates, and I'm going to hold down the shift key, by the way. It's another bonus tip of how to re-download an update you've already downloaded. All right, so if you'll, so there we go. So when you're downloading updates, there's an option down here for the archive users to automatically download pictures for new releases, and you have a choice. You can either go with the fastest, which is to download thumbnails. It has the least disk space and it goes faster. And we point out, yes, we're going to always give you larger covers as needed. So if I download thumbnails, but then I click on any particular picture, you'll always get the biggest version then. But in general, I'd say leave this at its default, which is go ahead for the fastest download, least disk space. But if you're just one of those guys who likes having, I want the big pictures, I want them all the time, in which case you can say, choose best quality, most disk space, in which case it'll give you the biggest picture we've got at the time, as part of the weekly download. In general, yeah, for me, I would say leave it here. But anyway, that's what that does. Okay. Let me see here. 2 days for launches. Okay. Not sure, Ronald. If there's a question there, give me a little more, because I'm not sure if I fully understood what you're asking. So we'll move on there. And Jeff Wilkie says, it'd be cool if we have a way to download the larger images for the items we have in our database instead of clicking on each image. Yeah, I mean, I sympathize. I mean, well, you guys are watching the live stream. I can give you some hints on this. Um, I mean, if you were to do anything which touches your, all your, your data, uh, obviously there's a balancing act here, right? If you've got, if you've got 50, 100, 200,000 comic books in your collection, you do not, you don't want, well, you might want, but we do not want to give you 200,000 high res 4K images because that is bad for our servers staying alive. It's bad for your bandwidth and your disk space. But it's also, I mean, if a bunch of people did this, then that would be the end of our servers. There's limits to everything, so we try to be very nimble about what we do. That being said, there are certain things you can do in ComicBase. If you say find me all my comics, that would allow you to very quickly touch all of your comics, which would have the effect of pulling down larger pictures. It's not an all-in-one kind of deal, but I think if you play with it, I think you could find a way to get there, and I'm not going to give you the rest of it. But anyway, so there you go. All right, so let's see here. Ed says, "Hey, I've been submitting monthly Marvel previews and DC Connect PDFs using the submit let's see, monthly preview. Oh, yeah, let me read this one closely because you guys are saying me there's a lot of data here. I mean, submitting monthly Marvel previews and DC Connect PDFs using the submit new update thing. Comic are this PDFs reviewed and added by the editors. They are not. Only pictures are kept on there. We thought about this a lot because you guys might know that you can attach any kind of file to your data. So I mean, if I want to have a movie of if I want to put a movie trailer in there, if I want to have a PDF, like let's say I've got a digital comic, I have a CBR file, CBZ file. I've got a movie I want to attach to it. Let's say it's the Batman movie adaptation. And I've got a rip of the movie. I could dump that in there. When you say submit, that does not go to our editors. It's copyright hell for us. So that one is always going to stay on your machine. The only thing that ever gets sent to us is if you have a bigger picture than we do, literally a JPEG. We'll say, hey, you have a picture we don't have, may we have it? And then if you say yes, then that gets sent to our editors. And we do definitely appreciate those. But yeah, we can't play with your media. And we certainly can't distribute your media. It's cool to know, but it's a realm that we can't get into legally. So anyway, appreciate it though. All right. I think that is all of that one. Let's press on. Okay, so we talked about how let's make this database update disappear and talked a couple different ways of doing that one. All right, so now we have the question of how do I make this database disappear from my life, from my list of items in my opening, or from my mobile app? So how do you make a database go away? All right, so couple things here, and let me see if I can pull this up. So let's say I just want to clean the house on database. Well, let's yeah, let's all right. So a big problem that people will call us with is they have too many databases, and if they look all over their disk, they've got a million copies of things. They used to call their database ComicBase database. Now it's called Bob's ComicBase database. But then they had made a copy for their friend, and now it's I got a copy of Bob's database, and they wake up and they've I think it's a good instinct. You're afraid to throw anything away because dang it, you spent a lot of time putting your stuff in there and you don't want to throw away anything that's going to get you in trouble. And so as a result, you wake up one day and you have 100 copies of ComicBase databases littering up your hard disk collection. You don't know which ends up. All right. If that happens to you, my friend, we have a solution. Go back here into the file menu, go to File Tools. And once again, let's go to a new thing here called the ComicBase Database Manager. It basically says, do you want to exit ComicBase, launch the database manager, and search databases on your hard drive? Say yes. All right, and I'm going to hide a bunch of things just so I can see what I'm doing here. There we go. And let me go ahead and open up the database manager again and open up StreamYard because it's really hard to run a podcast if I don't have my own window open. All right, so let's go back here. And let me move this onto the monitor that you guys can see. Oh, and I also, as I closed all that stuff, I also closed up the window that gives me the chroma key. So give me just a second on this one. I got to find that one and put him back. There, now you can see stuff again. Okay, cool. All right. What ComicBase Database Manager does, and I apologize I can't make this text for you any larger right now, but what it does is it scans your entire hard drive for anything that looks like it might be a database, a ComicBase database of any vintage. And then it tells you kind of how many comics are in it. It doesn't tell you everything about it, but it gives you the basic rundown. Now, it's going to start out by scanning your Common-based databases folder, the database you're actively using, but then it's going to keep on going until it's scanned every disk attached to your system. And when you're all done there, you'll be able to see, well, here's all the stuff on my system. And then you're in a position to make much more intelligent moves about optimizing things that are bad. So for instance, let's start with a couple things. Number one, anything in red is a problem. It means that we weren't able to read that database. Now I've got a couple that are they're damaged on purpose. And I use them for testing damaged database handling. So I mean, I've got one that the bad index one over here. I'm keeping that one because I need sometimes a busted database to play with. But there are other ones. If I saw them around, like let's say I had an old copy I salvaged off of a failing hard drive and so forth, I would give serious thought to just deleting those ones there. There are other ones you're going to see here that have 0 comics in them. Now, I keep around a bunch of these ones because they're my building files when I'm building software for y'all. They're the copies that are going to go on your disk. You don't want a database that starts out with everything that I've got. You want a database that starts out with 0. But you will probably find if you do this on your database, you've got a bunch of things. Like here, for instance, is a copy of a database it's like a backup of one that has 0 in it. Go ahead and delete it, and you don't even need to wait for the program to finish. You can kill that right while it's running. And then finally over here, you'll see the one in bold. That's the database you're looking at right this minute. And so that's probably the one you want to not touch because that's the one you're using, or at least the one you were using. What this program is meant to do is it's meant to let you quickly figure out what's in there, get rid of the things they're doing you no good whatsoever. So go ahead and delete those things like there. But most importantly, is if you have somehow opened up the wrong database and you're lost, you can't find where your work is. At that point, it gives you a quick way of saying, "Oh, there's my stuff. It's the one with all the work in it." And so I can click on it. I can say, "Use this database," and then the next time I launch ComicBase, it's going to open up that database. So give this a spin. It's under the file, go to File Tools, ComicBase Database Manager. And like I say, it does take a while to run. And then it's going to go through just infinity, drives on my machine, so it could probably take an hour to run on my machine. Your machine, 15, 20 minutes. Give it, if it's still running, give it some time. But definitely worth looking for. And if you want to just go ahead and get rid of databases that have 0 things in them that you're not using anymore, yeah, go ahead and do your house cleaning. It's a good thing to do from time to time. By the way, you might ask, why did I have to close ComicBase in order to run the database manager? Well, because maybe the one of the database I wanted to change was the one I was running. That one is a completely separate program, and so that's why it runs the way it does. All right, let me go ahead and launch ComicBase again. Give me just a sec here. Where are we at here? Do I already have it open in another window? Probably. This is the problem you get when you start opening other windows. Give me just a sec here. This is just great video, isn't it? Let me switch my camera back to me so you can at least entertain yourself with a confused look on my screen, on my face as I muddle through stuff. All right, so let's go ahead and launch. Let's pull up the 4K. See me for just a minute here. The other problem, of course, is I was debugging minutes before showtime. So, come on. Yeah, this is great. Okay. Because I am determined to get on top of that on top of that problem. Oh, I know it's happening. It has a Visual Studio update pending, so that isn't working. Darn you. Okay. Well, forget that one. All right. Moving on. Let me pull up my show notes. Oh, you got to love this. Live TV. All right. Do we have any other stuff open here? Um, checking. Yeah, there we are. Okay. All right, so let's go back to that. All right, there we go. Split the monitors over there, and let's go back. Okay, so next we had the question, how do I get rid of a database that I've got listed in my open list that I don't want anymore? So let's say if you go into File, you got recent databases. And this, of course, is the last database open. There's Pete's inventory database, there's copy or master database, and then here's a unlocked copy or master database. Let's say I want to get rid of that one right there. If you right click in this thing right there, while you've got the thing there, it'll basically say, do you want to remove this thing from the list of your recently opened databases? Very, very quick way of getting rid of entries in there that you don't want to see anymore. So just open up recent databases, right click on the one you don't want, it'll go away. You of course can also get rid of it if you change anything about its name, its path, whatever else. Because when you open the program, when you open up ComicBase, it tries to validate that all your recent databases are still where you put them, and if any of them move, change names, etc., it'll get rid of them from that list. But a quick way around that, just in general, is just pull down the recent database list, right click, and you can delete any entry you want from there. All right. More importantly, I think, and then I think we'll probably do this one as the last tip of the day because I'm getting a little talked out. But we have so much more, and the cool other thing is we can, when I do part 2, I can actually show you the AI stuff I meant to show you the first time. What do I do to? Oh, sorry, looking for my notes here. Yeah, so I'm using the mobile app, and it's got a database listed that I used once. I don't love it anymore, and I want to get rid of it. How do I get rid of this darn thing? And the answer, and we hope to actually have a better answer for you on this one in the near future. But the answer at the moment is, and let me go ahead and make sure this is, yeah, lip sync. I will be showing you this stuff, and it will blow your mind. But I'm going to show you this in the future because, again, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever without sound. But let me go ahead and pull up profile here. Sorry, I just need to do my stuff on the part which isn't being broadcast to all y'all because I need to be able to log in and find my account before I show you stuff. Okay, and we are there. Okay. If you go over to comicbase.com, www.comicbase.com, go under my account and then go to profile, log in if you need to, and then scroll all the way down, and you will see a list of known databases. These are the databases that the server knows about that, anytime you go and you use the mobile app or you're looking through a list of reports or things like that, these are going to be the ones that appear in your list. Now, as you can imagine, I work with a lot of dummy databases, customer databases, things like that. So my list is constantly getting polluted with databases I don't really want to see when I'm pulling up the mobile app to see my own stuff. So what I'm doing right here is go down to known databases, look at this database drop-down list here. Anything in here that you don't want shown in your profile on the mobile app, go ahead and click on it and just say remove. Now, it doesn't delete any files off your disk. You didn't lose any data on here. It does delete the reference to this database from our servers. So any reports that were stored with it are going to go away, and any kind of stored data we've got on our servers. We always make whenever you save to the cloud, we actually make a backup of your data in a place where we can see it and show it to you, so you can look at your data from the mobile app. It will get rid of any data associated with that same database from our servers, but it won't touch your hard drive. So if you just take that same database on your hard drive and save it to the cloud again, it'll repopulate all that stuff. So don't be too worried about saying yes to any of this stuff, because anything you're getting rid of here, it's not permanent. It doesn't touch the real thing. So I'll just go ahead and do a little cleaning up here. I keep a separate database just for the live stream. Let's go ahead and get rid of that reference. So here's the Livestream Pete's Comics, Livestream Pete's Inventory database. We'll leave those two around. So now if I went to my mobile app and I looked at the list of databases, it would, the very first, unfortunately at the moment, the current mobile app, the very first, it's going to go alphabetical order. So it's going to show you the Livestream Pete's Comics and then the Pete's Inventory database. But this is actually where you manage where those are. Now, I'm going to say, this is not a particularly satisfying solution. I mean, it gets the job done, but is I'm absolutely sympathetic to the idea, like, well, couldn't you just manage this stuff from within the app? I mean, if I'm looking at a database in the app I don't want to see, couldn't I just hit minus and get rid of it from there? You sure should. And we used to have that feature in the app, and the App Store from Apple keeps on rejecting it because it would basically talk to our website to get rid of the whole thing. And if anyone from the App Store certification, thing is listening, just cover your ears right now. There's nothing to see. Move along. We're gonna try again. We think we can hide it a little better because for some reason, Apple, the App Store, they don't like you making links onto somebody else's website, well, or even your own website, and so they denied our button to get rid of stuff. Honestly, we're going to hide it under a web API call, so it won't look like it's just going to the website and doing something. It'll do it a little bit more under the covers, and we think we can get the folks at the App Store from Apple to let us get away with actually providing our customers with functionality they want by doing that. Anyway, so that's on the docket. We are working on a new version of the mobile app. We're in the process of contracting that out with new employees. I whined about this a few weeks back, where apparently they changed, or we found out that they're obsoleting the some of the technology that the whole thing's built in, because when Microsoft acquired Xamarin, they decided, well, that wasn't invented here. We're going to wrap this into an initiative we've already got already, which is just like it, but cooler, involving lots of recoding for all you guys and relaying out your projects, called Maui. So I'm getting a little old. I'm there are times when I feel like really keeping up with the latest iteration of a technology I already had that Microsoft just changed for no reason. And there are times when I'm saying, you know what, how about we just hire this one out to a third party? So we're in the process of hiring this one out to a third party who's already walked through that before, so I can do something else for the next 2 months as opposed to just reformatting a program that was working perfectly fine into a new Microsoft format. And while we're at it, we're going to try to add in some new features on there, including the ability to manage some of these databases a little better, and handle another couple of gripes that we've had and other people have had with the mobile app while we're at it. So that's coming. We're in the process of doing the bidding, and we'll let you know how that goes. All right. With all that said, let's do our PSAs, and then we'll move on and do other things. So first of all, getting towards the top of the hour. So don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. I once again have committed podcaster malfeasance. I did not remind you right at the top of the show. There's a dedicated thread on the ComicBase message boards, so you can request live stream topics and demos. Please head on over to forums.comicbase.com, and you can go ahead and see that. And then finally, there's also a torrent link for Andre's world famous ComicBase cover catalog. It's a mad project where you took all million-plus comic books covers that are in ComicBase, assembled them in a PDF file. So if you want to just gaze in one big place at all the covers, granted they're small, but if you want to see all of them all in one place, it's very similar to the old Gerber books, just many times the size. And God help you, do not print these unless you're a crazy person, because you'll the rainforest will be gone. But anyway, so there's that. So go to forums.comicbase.com, and we will take you all that stuff. Guys, thank you for coming and joining me here. We'll try to do this again next week, and I'll try to have my sound working. And we'll see you all then. You guys take care, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye. Oh, that's right. We also need to reinitialize our exit stuff. So I guess it's a cold out this time out, because for some reason our other thing is just not playing along. Bye-bye.